Well, welcome to Mark at the Movies, where we get to talk about movies together. And I thought, what a great idea as Oscar nominations are coming out tomorrow morning, which I am very excited about. I believe I've seen all 10 Best Picture nominees coming up tomorrow. We'll see. And we'll be able to talk about that a little bit when the nominations are announced. But as we await those nominations, I thought now would be the time to be able to introduce my top 10 movies of the 2024 calendar year. I've finally seen the last few movies that I've wanted to see that were hangovers from 2024, like The Brutalist and like Sing Sing. And here are my top 10 motion pictures of 2024. We'll start with number 10. Number 10 is Longlegs. Longlegs, directed by Oz Perkins, starring Nicolas Cage and Micah Monroe. Uh, Longlegs follows an FBI agent in the 1990s, and she's tracking down a serial killer in Oregon. And I was really surprised by this movie. The tone that Oz Perkins set as the director and writer. You might recognize his dad is Anthony Perkins from Psycho fame. And Oz Perkins has started to really created his niche as this horror writer and director. I'm really looking forward to The Monkey, his newest film coming out in February. And Longlegs, he gives Nicolas Cage this long rope to be able to just chew the scenery as the title character, the serial killer, Longlegs. And Micah Monroe plays this detective who does a great job and who might even be on the spectrum a little bit, and how overmatched she is by Longlegs, this serial killer. It's got incredible tone. It's not a perfect movie. I'm not sure they stuck the landing with the twists at the end, but really excellent film and a really surprising, fun watch. Longlegs. Number 9, The Wild Robot. The Wild Robot was a real surprise for me. I had seen so many trailers leading up, and it felt like kind of a carbon copy to me of The Iron Giant. But The Wild Robot is a movie that has such heart to it. Directed by Chris Sanders, voice work by Lupita Nyong'o and Pedro Pascal. After a shipwreck, an intelligent robot called Roz is stranded on an uninhabited island. To survive the harsh environment, Roz bonds with the island's animals and cares for this orphaned baby goose. And man, what an amazing emotional piece of work. The idea of finding identity and who we are and who we belong to and how we grow as humans, um, as told by, well, anthropomorphic animated animals. Wild Robot in my number 9 film of the year. Number 8, A Complete Unknown, directed by James Mangold, starring Timothy Chalamet and Monica Barbaro, Ed Norton, and Elle Fanning. Look, I'm not a Bob Dylan fan. Never have been. It wasn't my era. But I'll tell you, it was one of those films that I came out of it just toe tapping and looked up some of Bob Dylan's stuff on Spotify. Tim Chalamet is incredible in the film. Also is Monica Barbaro. Ed Norton is really good in it as well. Uh, as far as the film goes, it's masterfully crafted. The singing, you can tell it's live singing and that the actors actually sing in the piece. It's really well told. Perhaps not as brave as far as creating conflict. A lot of the conflict doesn't come until the very end of the film, but really well crafted and a really nice, safe piece of musical film. Number 7, we have Dune 2, directed and written by Denis Villeneuve And of course, he has this penchant for making these big, beautiful IMAX films. If you remember, he directed the sequel to Blade Runner. Dune 1 also nominated for Best Picture, an incredible film. And he takes all of those pieces of the Harkonnens versus the Atreides and the sand planets and space, takes the space opera and he makes it better in the sequel. And of course, Timothy Chalamet, his second movie on my list this year. He's great. Zendaya's great. The whole cast does this wonderful job of creating even a better space opera. And you think about Chalamet, I do anyways, riding the space worm through the sand and the epic pieces of music behind it. It's a wonderful film. It's my number 7 of the year. Number 6, Nosferatu. Uh, and Robert Eggers has started to really become this guy who's created his own look and style. Much like whether you have a Martin Scorsese, or whether you have a Steven Spielberg, or whether you have a Quentin Tarantino, you know you're watching their kind of work. Where Eggers, he made a movie a few years ago called The Northman, which is one of my favorite movies in the last 10 years. And the way that he crafts his pieces using black and white and pieces of color, and the way he angles and the lighting and this like simplicity of music that creates dread. Nosferatu is an incredible piece of film, really led by Lily Rose Depp in the title role. Well, the lead role, anyways, with Bill Skarsgård playing this terrifying, unrecognizable Nosferatu, and then also Nicholas Hoult playing a character that's a very straight and narrow character. It's a wonderful cast. It's a wonderful film, very scary, very filled with dread. My number 6 film of the year. Number 5, Wicked. I loved, loved Wicked. Going into the film, I wasn't really expecting it to be in my top 10 of the year. I really thought that with Ariana Grande, I thought, well, if this movie is going to be great, she needs to be great. Well, Ariana Grande is great in this film. Both her and Cynthia Erivo, under the direction of John Chu, they do an incredible job. It is an epic piece. The colors, the way that it's shot, the performances, the musical numbers, everything is so well done. I haven't seen the stage play. I hear there's some major changes that happen in the middle of it. My only complaint would be that perhaps the wizard was miscast in there and perhaps not the best performance. But other than that, Wicked is an excellent time at the movies. Number 4, and I'll tell you, with my number 4, I cannot believe this movie wasn't a hit this year, but Furiosa, a Mad Max saga, is my number 4 movie of the year. Anya Taylor-Joy is one of my favorite actresses in all of Hollywood. She lays it all out on the line in her performance here. Of course, directed by the masterful George Miller. The Fury Road movie that came out several years ago, one of my favorite movies in the last 10 years. How unbelievably well shot and crafted that film is. This is, I believe, Furiosa is just as good as Fury Road, and Chris Hemsworth gives an astounding villain performance in this movie. He's almost unrecognizable in the film, and he just chews up the scenery. You can tell he's just loving every second of it. Furiosa, a Mad Max saga. It's streaming right now. I highly recommend it. My number 4 of the year. Now we get into our top 3. The movie I've seen the most recently, The Brutalist, is my number 3 spot. In movies, for me, it means a lot when you walk away from a movie and it sticks with you. You can't stop thinking about it. You can't stop examining it. You can't stop just thinking about different scenes. The Brutalist sticks with you. It is a difficult watch, both just from the time. It's a 3 hour and 35-minute piece with a 15-minute intermission, and also the topic. Adrian Brody gives a haunting performance along with Guy Pearce, and then also Felicity Jones is terrific in the second half of this movie. It is reminds me a lot of There Will Be Blood as far as tonality and how it's filmed. The director, Brady Corbet, decided to film it in VistaVision, which was very popular when this movie was set in the 40s, 50s, and 60s. It is a spiraling epic that is a tough watch, but boy, what an incredible film. Brutalist is my number 3 for the year. Number 2, we have Conclave. Rafe Fiennes is probably my favorite actor of all time. Should have won an Academy Award for his performance as Eamon Gitz in Schindler's List, my all-time favorite movie. He should have won a nomination, or should have won for The English Patient. As sure, another incredible film. Conclave is one of those films you go in, it's quiet, it's contemplative, but also becomes incredibly exciting as this detective piece. And what would it look like behind the scenes in a fictional way of how it looks to, well, to vote for the next pope, and then all the politics that happen in it. Ray Fiennes is incredible in it. It's an amazing piece. I've seen it twice already. I want to see it again. It's a great film by Edward Berger and highly recommended. But my number one movie of the year, by far my favorite movie of the entire year, The Substance. The Substance, from the first shot of the film all the way to the end of the movie, is a masterpiece. It just is. Coralie Fargo, the director and writer of The Substance, I was riveted from the first moment, and fair warning, it is not for everybody. It is really gross. It is really in your face. Coralie Fargo, she doesn't pull any punches. And both Demi Moore and Margaret Qualley are fantastic. They really get into their performances. A movie about what it means to be wanted, not just in Hollywood, but in the world, and how the world look at, in particular, women, and what women, but not just women, just people in general, what they'll go to be able to have youth and acceptance, and what it means to be wanted. It is, oh man, it is a magical ride. It's not for the faint of heart, fair warning, but The Substance by far is the best movie of 2024. Well, those are my top 10 movies of 2024. Hope you enjoyed it. Come back as we continue to explore Mark at the Movies. Let's go to the movies.